I am here with a scrapbook layout process video for you today as part of the team over at the Counterfeit Kit Challenge. But keep in mind, if you're a card maker, a lot of these tips will apply to card making as well. I am going to be zhuzhing up a simple punch shape with more added texture, and I have lots of information on doing this special stamped background. Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty, where I create with paper and photos in artful ways. Over at CKC, we have challenges every month to build Scrapbook Kit, and then challenges to create layouts, and this time the challenge is to use a heart. And I will step up that heart, simple heart punch, in a couple of ways. Before we get to that, I want to work on the background of my layout. I just released a video talking about these stamping tools and stamping platforms. The one I have here is called the Sizzix Stamp Stencil Tool. It has this add-on to it, which is a lid that has rotation to it, and you can mount stamps on that lid and then rotate them to create wreaths and whatnot. However, these stamps from Concord and Ninth are called turnabout stamps. They are intended to use in a stamping platform where you rotate the paper, but I had the idea that these would work in this rotational stamping platform. So that is what I'm starting this off with. I have another video talking about pros and cons and benefits of various stamping platforms, and I will link you up to that if you missed it. A lot of this information was covered in that video, just at a much faster pace. So this is a slower look at this process. So the first thing I had to do was get the jig that comes with the stamp aligned with the center point of the platform base, which is a sticky grid. I do mark the corner of that jig because that will help me line up my paper. And then I place the stamp over the jig, lift up the stamp with the rotational wheel, make sure the center point is aligned with that screw, and then remove that jig to begin my stamping. Okay, on the left-hand side, you saw there that I completed one full pattern already. Now, to do the rest of the layout, we could just slide the paper to the left and do the next section. Here, I decided to rotate the paper, and there's a couple of reasons why I did it this way, which we'll get to, but let me show you a little bit of this process first. So these stamps are designed with a smattering of images on them that mathematically, when you rotate this 90 degrees, you won't get any of those images overlapping. Instead, they fill in gaps. And you can stamp this up to 4 times in those 90-degree rotations, and you can use a different color of ink with each rotation to get a complete pattern background. But keep in mind, you could stamp this single layer of ink like I'm doing here and just stop there. All right, what I found was a big time saver when stamping an entire scrapbook 12 by 12 background was to pick one color, the first color I'm going to start with, and then instead of finishing one corner of my layout, I was going to save that color, rotate my paper, and continue stamping my background with that one color. And then I would clean it, rotate my stamp, and ink it with my next color and continue with my pattern. Now, like I said, you don't have to do all the colors and all the rotations. That is an option with these stamps, and I like that. So I wanted to go ahead and do all 4 imprints with this stamp. So here is what it looks like when you are entirely done with that process. Now, because I rotated the paper for my different quadrants, you can see in that center point how those images match up in kind of a rotational pattern. If you just slide your paper, you'll get an even different look. At any rate, I just wanted to share my enjoyment of these 2 particular products, and if you're interested, I'll leave you more video links down below on further information and further techniques. I will also link you up to my scrapbook kit build, which all of the products besides that stamp came from my kit build this month, and if you don't know about that, I want to make sure you can see that as well. All right, I have cut a foundational piece of pattern paper, and I'm going to apply a lot of fibers to this because I did include a lot of that in my kit this month. Here is where I am working on my heart. I just pulled out my favorite heart punch. It's just a simple Fiskars heart punch, nothing special about it, but I am going to step it up with some dry embossing and some inking. I have a whole technique video on what you can do with embossing folders, and if you haven't seen this technique before, I recommend that video as well. So I have lots of links for you today to other of my project. What I like to do is kind of mist the back just very lightly of whatever I'm going to run through an embossing folder. And this one in particular is a deep embossing folder. And then you can ink up your embossing folder before you close it onto your piece. And once you close it, kind of squeeze it tight so your piece won't slip and slide and smudge that ink. But you can go ahead and run that through your die cutting machine like you would any other embossing folder, and you get this added detail of extra ink with that textural detail. So that is a nice way to kind of step up really simple die cuts. You can even do this to pre-made die cuts, so give it a try. Embossing folders are really easy to wipe clean when you're done because they resist water-based inks. So this is not recommended for inks like StazOn, which are permanent. At any rate, you'll see me step that heart up one more time. At first, I thought I was going to do kind of like a drop shadow with another punched heart out of a darker wood grain. I decided I didn't quite like that, so instead I'm going to back it on a circle, and I'm going to incorporate this heart into my title. All right, here's what my heart looks like on top of that circle, and because it is wood grain, it has a directionality to it, so I put it the way that I like it best. And oh, I guess I didn't get to the title just yet. I am going to add some more ink to this pattern paper. It's already yellow, but the yellow that I used in the stamping on my background is slightly more chartreusey yellow, so I was trying to get a tone closer to that. I did make a mistake when I was dragging my ink pad across my paper in that I kind of stopped dragging and it got stuck there and created these striations. So I just went ahead and rolled with it and made more purposeful striations with that ink pad. And most of this is going to be covered up anyway, so you're not going to see a lot of that, but it's just another layer of texture, and it was one of those opportunities for embellishing instead of thinking of it as a mistake. I've got my 3 photos here and just trying to figure out how best to get them all to line up. I have pulled out my fibers so that I can add all of that as layers. And because this is about my cats, I am going to use some fun fibers that kind of remind me of cat toys. And that's how I am incorporating these elements onto this layout. So I'm curious how many of you incorporate fibers and ribbons and twines onto your projects, either cards or scrapbooks. Let me know because I'm curious. Here, I just wanted to show you how I attach these fibers on the back side of this layer. I actually fold them over and then add adhesive over the top of that, and then a scratch piece of paper over the top of that. I find that helps keep everything in place nicely. So here we go. Add the adhesive, add the scratch, tear it off, and then I'm done. That way it all stays a whole piece while I continue working on the layers of my page. All right, I do want to tuck some of these photos, overlap some of the photos, because I really like the dynamic of that style of getting everything to interconnect. Here is where I add some more fibers. I'm almost out of this size of this pom-pom style fiber. I do have a little bit of the smaller pom-poms left, or actually quite a bit of smaller pom-poms left that's also brown. So we'll see if I can get more of these fun textures added to my layouts. I finalized all of that layer off camera and I've turned my attention to my title. There you can see I have my heart incorporated into my title instead of the word love. So that's not a new and exciting technique, but it is definitely something that I enjoyed. And I'm really loving the color scheme of this layout. The combination of yellow and blues and with that deeper grounding brown is really good. And I shouldn't really be surprised because a lot of my home is decorated with yellow and blues in various parts of the house. So it shouldn't surprise me that I like this color combination as much as I did. All right, I am fiddling with letters because the alphabet sets that I have are constantly running out of the letters that I need. So I'm always having to cut things apart and do what I call Frankensteining letters back together. I'm trying to create the letter T for the word them. I get all that done, and I'm going to shift it around a little bit because it was too far under the photo, but my full title reads, I love them so much. And in fact, little Miss Willow, who has decided she likes sitting on my desk, decided to join me at this point, and so I will finish up my layout with her sitting there. My title and my photos really tell most of the story, so even though I tend to be a prolific journaler, this one is not going to get much extra, and so a lot of these elements have plenty of room to breathe and shine on this layout. So I will leave you with this bit of a close-up look at the layout, and I will say thank you very much for watching. Remember, I have linked you up to lots of other resources on my channel with this one. I hope you will go and check those out, and I hope you will come back next week for more videos. I've got a live coming up, and I've got a whole share of the 14 layouts I've made so far in February. So until then, I hope you have an artful day.